Hello everyone, SizePyro7 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Mattel's Jurassic World Rebirth Wild Roar Utahraptor. Now actually, before I get too far, I would like to say thank you for 500 subscribers. I appreciate all of you, genuinely. I didn't think I'd get up to 500 subscribers in the first nearly 2 years of my channel, so I definitely love the support you guys have been given. I might come up with something to do as a 500 sub special. I do kind of have an idea. I've got two different ideas. Not really sure which is better. But once I figure that out, I'll do it. And so, once again, thanks for the support. And so with that out of the way, into the review itself, in which case, actually surprised it took Mattel 7 years to make Utahraptor. I've been wanting them to make it for 5 years, but, well, here it is, finally. Took them long enough, honestly. Before I look at this thing, though, specifically, gotta go look for the box. This is one of the more recent guys. Actually, I just got it yesterday, which I'm not sure when this will release, but as of me recording this, I got it yesterday. So, very, very recent. You got the Jurassic World Rebirth logo. You got the Spinosaurus from the movie, which I've been seeing gets a lot of hate because of the head and the neck, which, yeah, that looks bad, but the rest of it and the fact that Spinosaurus is finally in a new movie, I love it for. I'm actually not one of the people who complains about the head. So, we got the little Utahraptor there. Got the background of the box. Oh yeah, I got the Rebirth logo again, which I think is a little bit of a step down. So do I still... I've probably got it somewhere. But I was trying to find the Jurassic World Dominion release box that shows the Dominion logo and the Pyroraptor on the side. Whereas for this, it's just a red slab with the logo. So that's not quite as good compared to Dominion's. On the back, there's the Utahraptor. Again, something it does. It makes noise, which I guess was on the front. I just missed that. Other guys in Wild Roar Wave 2. Baryonyx, Maiasaura, and Nasutoceratops. And then scan code stuff and control the attack. Now, there's actually instructions in here because it roars and it's got batteries, so let me get that out real quick. Okay, I got the paperwork out. There was a little other paper as well, but first off, this is not the English side, and so I can't really read any of this. And it's probably just like warnings about the batteries and whatnot. Yeah, it's kind of what it's looking like. And so, unlike other dinosaurs, specifically their larger roaring guys, they only give it a single sheet of paper for the instructions. Usually it's a mini little booklet with like 2 pages. But here we got the body thing, the scan code, attach the tail, which I did, and that's it. Usually these instructions show what it can also do, but that's what the box does, I guess. And, well, aside from the logo being right there, that's really the box. And so we could get into the review itself. In which case, I absolutely love this thing, for the most part. There are a couple issues I have with it, so I guess I'll get into those real quick. The first one is the feathering. As I said, I'm not complaining that they gave it feathers. I actually love the fact that they did. I didn't think they were going to make it this feathered, especially given their Megaraptor. Where is this guy? Here he is. Especially given Mattel's Megaraptor, which was, in real life, roughly the exact same size as Utahraptor, but not as directly related. Dromaeosaur Megaraptorin. They're not in the same family. They are both Coelurosaurs, though. Although these guys are closer to the Tyrannosaurs, so I guess it doesn't really count. These guys are closer to birds, believe it or not. So, as these guys are like roughly equally sized in real life, so I wasn't expecting Mattel to feather Utahraptor as much as they did. But hey, they did, not complaining. Okay, Megaraptor needs batteries, good to know. Whereas Utahraptor, it's actually pretty fun. It might be a little bit too heavily feathered. I'd actually add given this thing was like 23 feet long and weighed, I think, a little bit over half a ton. So yeah, there might be a couple too many feathers. Not certain though. Next complaint I have is the lower jaw. Wait a minute, I wasn't done with the feathers. On the arm, that's all fine, but the main complaint is the stop at the wrist, whereas they're supposed to stop on the second finger. I have the Beast of the Mesozoic Utahraptor. I'll be comparing this guy to at the end so I can showcase all of the differences. Beast of the Mesozoic one is a lot more accurate. Just about as feathered, though. The second complaint is the lower jaw. On a Utahraptor, the lower jaw is supposed to curve downwards a little bit, and the teeth follow. I don't really have a good skeletal diagram of Utahraptor currently on me. But, yeah, the teeth here and the lower jaw in general does not fit a Utahraptor. However, the rest of the skull overall does very well. And they gave it lips, which honestly I was not expecting them to do, given they didn't for Pyroraptor. And yet it looks honestly perfectly fine. And finally, the tail's too short. Right now, anyway, on camera, it looks okay. From a distance, it doesn't really look all that bad, let's be real. But up close, the tail's just too short. Which I was actually worried about them doing for their Ceratoseucops figure, which thankfully they didn't, but unfortunately they did with Utahraptor. So that's all the minor complaints I've got in terms of details out of the way. In terms of design, it's not bad. It's not very bad at all. They got the big claws off the ground, which is good. They've got non-pronated wrists, which I've said before in most, if not all, of my theropod reviews, means that the hands look like this, in which case the palms face each other, which is good. If they were like this, like almost all of them are in the Jurassic franchise, palm facing down, their wrist is now broken and basically useless. So them doing the correct wrist for Utahraptor is good. Does it have forward-facing eyes? Can't really tell, possibly. I know for a fact all Tyrannosauroids, maybe not like Kyle's, but I know all Tyrannosauroids, and by extension certain oids, like Eutyrannus, had forward-facing eyes. Not really certain on Dromaeosaurs. I've heard things about they could or not. So, not sure there. Coloration is overall pretty fine. It's a little bit bland, especially halfway through the body. The head is black, mostly anyway. The feathers are nice, lighter, a little bit darker, light orange. And that flows into the main fairly generic-looking brown body. Like that looks like the textbook definition of brown. And that's part of my another minor complaint. Like, most of Mattel's dinosaurs have amazing colorations on the head, and then the rest of the body is fairly bland. So they could have done a little bit more with the brown, and I also think they could have used the black for the skin and scales on the hands and feet as well, but kept the feathers different colors. That could have looked really cool. But aside from that, not really that many other complaints for this thing. It's a large-sized dinosaur. I'm not restructuring the way I scale these things. I'm just going back to my original setup. The eyes, I think, are just the main black body color for the pupil, but that's fine. The rest of it is yellow, and I would give them a black pupil anyway. Also, they're rounded, which is also good. They're not supposed to be slit-shaped, or at least I don't think they are. That's typically more for crocodiles. In terms of being digitigrade, or walking only on the toes, it is doing very good. Yeah, the feet are a little bit bigger than the Beasts of the Mesozoic figure, but they're not overly massive on the ground, and they go up decently, but have enough space for these two, I guess it's 2 leg bones there. Kind of like our arms, we've got 2 leg bones down there as well. Articulation-wise, its arms can stick out because they've, well, got ball and socket joint, which I guess could look kind of cool as like an intimidation display. The hands are just going to be the weird part for that. And they can also move in a 360 circle. Only problem, not quite as well when tucked inwards because the leg gets in the way of the feathers. Speaking of the leg, they cannot stick outwards, as most of their roaring guys actually can't. And they can also move up and down, well, you know, like this up and down. Not all that certain in terms of a 360 circle. This will probably get looser as I use it more. And the very end of the tail can twist in a 360 for some reason. Not sure why they do that. The only problem is getting the feathers actually lined up with the body or the rest of the tail. That's annoying. Action features. Wait a minute. Hold on. Jurassic logo, DNA scan code, which they're putting back on the foot after like 2.5 years. Maybe it's 3.5 years. I'm not really sure. After 2.5 to 3 years of putting the scan code in the body and then you take it out, they're going back to what they did for 3 years and putting it on the foot. So that's nice. Action feature, twist the tail and the head twists. Move the tail up or down and the head corresponds. I like this. They're going back to a Sound Strike or 2020, halfway through 2021 style action feature of tail-based attacks. Tail-based attacks where you move the tail and something else happens, usually the head. And I loved that series, primarily because that's when my collection really began to grow, was with the 2020 line. But also because it's just such a cool action feature, and you get so much more of the body on camera if you don't want your camera or your hand to be on camera. So it's nice. And hold on. I said it was Wild Roar at the beginning, and it is Wild Roar. You see, for 5 years I've used these little pieces of plastic that come more often than not with a Mattel dinosaur. Not all of them come with them, but when I come across them, I'll take it. That go in the battery compartment, and these make it roar. Or at least if you put it in there, it stops it, but if you take it out, it roars. So these are actually pretty good roars. They're Indoraptor's roars, for the most part anyway. Unlike some of their more recent large carnivores, I can actually identify what they're using as sounds. Indoraptor, which is fine, but that's not the first time they've used that guy for sounds. They've used Indoraptor roars on their Megaraptor and Indoraptor and Ceratosaurus, Utahraptor now, and Edmontosaurus, which is weird because that's an herbivore, and maybe something else, but I'm not really sure what else. But given Utahraptor's body shape and size, and also body or head size and shape, the roars honestly fit pretty well. That said, I do have a little bit of a complaint. As opposed to other action-based, or as opposed to the previous roaring dinosaurs, where, except for maybe, I think, Roar Attack, I think that's what the 2021 line was called, where if I want to make it roar, I do the action, and then I want to close the mouth after it's done roaring. That doesn't work with their 2025 series Wild Roar species, and that's really annoying. If I want to make it roar, and then when it's done roaring, close the mouth, I have to lift the tail back up, which immediately starts another roar. So yeah, that's a little bit bothersome. And it's not Utahraptor. They're Cryptops and Ceratoseucops, and those are the only other two guys I have of this wave so far, or this line so far. But that's a little bit annoying. But aside from that, it's not terrible. It's not terrible at all. And now, Beast of the Mesozoic Utahraptor comparison now. This video is getting a little bit longer than I thought it would. I guess I'm good at yapping about Utahraptor. So immediately it is roughly the same height and quite a bit longer. The feathers are, I won't say more realistic. I mean, detail-wise they are, but also they're basically in the exact same parts of the body, so I can't really complain about Mattel's not working. The tail I actually think might be a little long, even with the feathers. Hard to tell where the feathers end on this figure. But that's what I mean by the feathers are supposed to stop on the second finger. And kind of hard to tell, but that's what I mean by the teeth are supposed to move downwards on the lower jaw. Like that. Kind of hard to tell when you give a dinosaur lips. But yeah, that's the Beast of the Mesozoic one. I might actually review some of my Beast of the Mesozoic figures. I don't have a lot of them, but I think I could. It would give me a little bit of variety compared to only Mattel species. But, yeah, this was their Jurassic World Rebirth Wild Roar Utahraptor. Disappointing Utahraptor's not going to be in Jurassic World Rebirth, but we at least get a pretty decent figure that is fairly affordable compared to the Beast of the Mesozoic one. I think this guy was $15 or $18. The BOTM guy, I think... Actually, I don't know. I got it for Christmas. But it was probably about either 80 or 100, 15-ish, I'm guessing. So, yeah. Want a good Utahraptor? Here you go. Want a cool species to add to your collection, especially since it took Mattel 7 years to make a Utahraptor? Here you go. So, yeah, that's all I got to say for this edition. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next time. See ya.